Okay, so I want to talk about the issues that we have here at home and some statistics. 41%, roughly 1.7 million veterans across the country have mental health issues and needs. And so one of the organizations here in our area helping with that is the Battle Within. And I want to introduce you to two gentlemen who help run that organization. We have Justin Hoover. He is the executive director, and also Adam Majors. He is the clinical director. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
So tell us a little bit about the Battle Within and how it got started here in our area.
Yeah, the Battle Within was really created by over 100 veterans, first responders, and community members with the desire to make sure all of our nation's warriors have the same opportunities to heal. We define a warrior as somebody that doesn't get to say no in the face of crisis. So that's your active duty, your veterans, your first responders, your dispatchers, your corrections officers, and frontline medical personnel. And really what we try and do is break down those barriers that exist that keep them from receiving the mental and behavioral supports they need. And so really what we've done is we've created a continuum of care using a community approach that's really been pioneered with this novel clinical approach that Adam Majors has created.
Adam, tell us a little bit more about what you do.
Yeah, so at the Battle Within, one of our goals is to make sure that we're setting the stage for healing. So apart from just the nature of the trauma itself, we also live in a culture and we work in a culture as warriors where we're usually not encouraged to speak about how we're really feeling and how we're really doing. So what we want to do is make sure that we're getting all the factors in place that are so critical to succeeding in individual psychotherapeutic treatment. We do that through our 5-day Revenant Journey program. The other thing that we do is make sure that we set those that we serve up with a therapist that is in a good spot to take care of them. And so psychotherapy is a highly individualized process. There's a lot of factors that can influence what makes a treatment more or less likely to succeed. And what we want to do is get each person with a therapist who we believe is in a good spot to treat them.
Are we getting better at helping our veterans? I mean, places like the Battle Within help. Are we getting there? How are we? And what else can we do better?
Yeah, we certainly are. And I think, one of the silver linings of COVID is actually reducing that stigma to mental health. I was actually at a fire academy a couple weeks ago, and there was a few veterans there, and just that question of asking, hey, who's had some mental health issues, and those veterans were willing to step forward in front of some peers and classmates and be vulnerable. And I think that's really what has come about, is that vulnerability is accepted, and that's one of the hard parts of war, is just the intimate nature. Me and Adam were standing in the bomb crater here at the World War I Museum and sharing those stories of the different experiences we'd had in our own bomb craters. And, before, that wouldn't have really happened, because there's that stigma there that, well, whose is worse? I mean, he stood in a 2-story bomb crater. I haven't, and so how do you pull away? Because that isolation and that shame is really what leads to that symptomology, that PTSD, that depression, and ultimately suicide.
Well, and Adam, help us understand that. I mean, especially those who have not served. We so badly want to understand where folks are coming from and what those needs are. So, help us understand what the needs are and how we can help communicate better with them and help serve them just on a community level.
Yeah, I would say that, first off, having a traumatic reaction to something like war or trauma is normal. And so when somebody has experienced really severe trauma, we should expect that people are going to have a difficult time. And the best thing that we can do when we're speaking with somebody who's experienced something traumatic is just make it safe for them to share their experience and to be honest about how they're feeling and how they're doing, and make sure that we're giving them a chance to open up without having anybody shame them or try and talk them out of it. So just creating as much room as possible for them to have an experience that is authentic for them.
Matt mentioned earlier the suicide rates among veterans and those returning from service. How do we get those numbers down?
That's a wonderful question. I think it starts as we transition out. Transitioning is such a challenge for so many people. It's this loss of identity, and really you kind of scatter to the winds. It's easy to think that your problems are going to end with your service, and then come 6 months, 9 months later, you find out that they aren't. So really creating that sense of community and those advocates, and that's really what we try and do at the Battle Within, is really develop that sense of a community, and again, create where people feel like it's okay to be vulnerable. They come to understand that their story is the key that unlocks somebody else's prison. They become those advocates that help find those other warriors in the community and welcome them into this space. And so that's really what it takes, is it takes it takes understanding, it takes vulnerability, and it takes people really getting out there and supporting one another in community.
It sure does. So just tell us, what do you want folks who might be watching who might really need these services, or maybe has a family member or a friend or a colleague who needs these services? What do you want them to know?
Well, I'd say that there is help. We know for a fact that psychotherapy does work, and a lot of times if you've tried psychotherapy and you feel like it hasn't worked, there's a good chance that it might not have been a good fit, that maybe it wasn't the right kind of therapy, or that it didn't fit the person's situation. So I would just encourage folks to keep trying, encourage folks that you know or love who may be suffering to keep trying, and make sure that you reach out to organizations like us at The Battle Within, because we're very confident that we can help with most people and most of what they're going through. And there's a variety of other treatment options available. So when it comes down to it, just know that PTSD it's not a death sentence, that there are things that we know help, and we can help people to feel better and to find a new life.
It's something that can be managed and can be helped. Well, and thank you both for being with us throughout this pandemic. Both of you have been so great with your time to come on our show and help share your experiences and how we can relate them to what folks are going through now. So we appreciate that for sure. We put some information up on the screen as well where you can find more information about The Battle Within. Gentlemen, thank you so much. I'm going to step over and talk to Matt really quick before we get to our COVID count.